So, I'm going to talk about interoperability, the what, where, and why today. So this was a buzzword used in many events by many companies. So I'm going to explain that. So dive in. So to explain what does interoperability in our industry mean? I will demonstrate the role of the integrated systems and possible use cases that there are in the world, and that you sometimes hear from the customers, from your sales team, so that you maybe after this talk can answer better. Let's see. We will talk about where, so how the customers are currently designing their data pools, how they are deploying the security systems, and why this use case is here. And we will also dive into some automation scenarios that customers require in the modern time of modern IT, Office 365, where we are unfortunately not yet as an industry, but we will be. And why? So why do we need interoperability? Why do we need integrations? So we'll dive into customer demand and market exposure, tender compliance, partner selection, and at the end, what it costs. Yeah? So what does it mean to be interoperable and to stay interoperable? Yeah. So you can raise your hand in case you would be having questions in between. Otherwise, I will just make the presentation and we'll be open to answer questions after that. So up to you. So the rest hands will be answered. So I hope this is right now. Yeah. Well. So what is interoperability? So this buzzword. So basically it's very simple. It's just that the system A can talk to system B or the system X or component A or component Z. So it's just the way that two systems can talk to each other and understand each other. So very simple. But interoperability in access control is not so simple. Because access control is originally a heart of security of the company. And usually manufacturers did not tend to share their APIs, share access to their database. So there are closed proprietary systems in their nature. And that's why the word interoperability becomes really a very cumbersome process, where you have to negotiate NDAs with a company to get access to their data. If you are lucky, you have API. If not, there is a database integration. And if there is a database integration, you are not backwards compatible, most probably, after some time. So there are some challenges with that. So we are moving towards interoperability, but that's the definition. So now let's deep dive into the world of the integrated systems. So when the customer is installing access control, he has many other systems in the field already there, or many other systems to come. And typically, if we are talking about the building security, there are three main systems that we are circulating around. This is access control. This is one of the basic requirements where people have to identify themselves when they enter the premises of the company. That's one of the first systems to be introduced in the company at all. Video surveillance, for also specific cases, for monitoring the objects, monitoring that something happened, and IDS systems, so intrusion detection systems. So these three systems are building normally the core of security of your company. So monitoring that right people can enter right premises on right time, that if something irregular happens, that it can be tracked and followed, and that if no one is there, you can get an alarm if someone wants to get let in. But there are many, many more systems around that. And systems as credential management systems, identity management, fire, building automation, intercom systems, lighting. So building has much more subsystems around, and there are much more software systems in the company deployed that are there, and that your access control has to somehow interact with. Because access control is still about letting in and out people. People who are using the software, who are using other systems. And let's dive into the use cases that are possible. So, lightning and intrusion. So basically, if you have an intrusion and you would like to scare someone away, so the bad guy away, you can spotlight the place where the alarm is happening. So lightning and intrusion can interoperate. So that is what interoperability might mean. Video surveillance and intrusion detection. In case the alarm is going up, so you can track it and record it, and provide a video feed together with an incident, and send it maybe to the SOC, so Security Operations Center. So, as well as vice versa. So either video triggers the alarm, or alarm triggers the video and gets a bookmark. So access control and building management system. This is currently getting even more and more popular. So access control has a very nice feature. It knows who is in the building and who is where. Based on that information, you can really optimize the energy flows, the comfort in the building inside. So you can really decide, so this room is empty, I will turn off the heating here, or I will turn off the lights, and I can optimize how my energy is used, how my space is used. Or maybe I don't need this large building, and I can rent it to someone else. So it's also about sustainability. So if we are talking about lighting and video, so video cameras are also not so powerful to monitor in every environment circumstances. So lighting can support video in case an incident happens and you want to inspect it. You can synchronize turning the light on and then film in the bookmark to the alarm being raised. Now interesting, lightning, intrusion and video. So basically alarm is triggered, light is on to scare someone away, and the bookmark and the video is being recorded to provision it to the alarm feed. So you can combine this data, and you see that it's more and more about combining data. Video and access control. Oh, there are positive ID. So there are two main cases. You are getting alarms from video into access control and can handle them. You can get the events from access control and handle them in video. And you can use only one system as a main interface. Should it be video or should it be access control? You don't have to leave the boundaries of a single system. So, IDS, so intrusion, video, and access control. So basically you can enrich all of this data that you have seen these interactions between other systems already. Access control and credential badging. Now we see it more and more. So with identity systems, with credential systems, and with access control. Access control historically used to manage identities and credentials internally. The more the business gets, the more systems are being deployed, the higher the probability that the systems are getting separate. And access control is now not more responsible for managing identities on its own. So you have Microsoft Active Directory or Identa, I'm not sure how it's called correctly. So there are powerful HR systems. And businesses are requiring providers of access control solutions to have a possibility to be federated from outside. As well as credential management is getting also very complex because access control is not a single system that uses, for example, an RFID badge. So it might be your canteen, it might be a follow me print. And the customer, the end customer, is expecting to have a single badge. And this cannot be tackled singularly by the access control system. It should be credential management. So that's why such integrations are very essential. So there are many, many more, but I just wanted to give the important examples. Integration types. So how do we make this happen, actually? So if we are talking about the integrations that we know, that the easiest integrations possible are with wires. So it's a typical relay, contact, controller. So it's basically just an input, on or off. If you want to make two systems compatible, you have a file panel, you have an access panel, and you want to know when what happens, you just track the digital inputs and connect the systems with each other. So connect them. Currently, if you want to make more sophisticated things, you deal not only with hardware, but you deal also with the software. So with the software, you can integrate systems with each other, where you, for example, use the application programming interface, the API of the systems, or SDKs, software development kits. So one system can talk to another system by leveraging its language, so its interface. But now the more trendy is even getting the data sharing. What does it mean? That means that every system, every security system in your building, and maybe other systems in your building, are gathering the data in the data pool. And from this data pool, systems can authorize themselves and pick the data they need, and they are authorized to pick. But now, if you're really talking about interoperability, we have the last one, standards. So I think Gunnar will touch it much more in detail than I do. Just wanted to teaser it a bit. In case you want the real plug-and-play interoperability, you need to follow standards. So it's just when one system has an official specification according to the standard implemented, like OSDP, or Vigant is still in place, yeah? Yeah. Or it's a standard offline for offline logs, so for offline and online load, or PID cards, or people. So you can just simply say the word in the tender or in the context, so I need an OSDP reader, and everyone understands what it means. Or you can tell, I need an RS485 reader with a custom protocol running on that, and it should be secure. So no one says that yet. Yeah? So standards are simplifying us the life. But more about this from Gunnar. Yeah, and now I will talk you how the customers who are currently designing their security systems are thinking, and how the IT departments are thinking. So this idea originally comes from America, because I talked a lot with, while preparing these presentations for other events in the USA. I was working closely with security consultants and specifiers in the USA. And because they have so much construction, so they really divide the building in specific blocks or department, like Department 8, Department 28 is for security. So there are specific definitions. And they have a specific approach how they design their data sharing in the company. So first of all, you have the security systems that gather the data, and you have the data from other IT systems. So for example, your Active Directory data, or your HR data, your booking data, your parking data. And then, after you have the data being put through the customized interface into one place, you provide the interfaces like Microsoft Dynamics, I think, so or specifically visualized tools to see what happens in your company. So either you just buy a PISM as a system that gives you the overview of what is happening, or you can really design the data access pool and query what has happened to your company based on what security systems and IT systems saved in your data sharing pool. So that's how companies are starting to think. Not everyone thinks like that, but this is where it goes. And that's why you see that the use cases that I showed before, most of these use cases are based on either event action and then do something, or take the sharing data and send it somewhere. So sharing data is becoming inadvertent. So what is currently also happening, that the customers are trying to, why do they need automatic access control? Because basically you can just use the door and the guardian near the door, and yeah, that's it. So you can have a control on the list. But we are trying to save time and to save on deploying security personnel. And for such automations, so if you have the data, you can simplify it. So instead of having multiple dashboards, you can really concentrate on very important alarms that you, for example, accommodate within a single user interface. So for security manager and the security operator, it is only important to understand what is requiring my attention if something goes wrong. I don't want to handle incidents that are false positives. And that's where it goes. The automations, the typical automations are for credential management. I have a new employee in the company, and this employee automatically gets a badge enrolled or maybe mobile badge enrolled. So this is what really saves time. And these processes in companies otherwise take hours, maybe days, so just to get an appropriate badge. And this is where it can really save money. So having security is not only giving money away, but sometimes it's also saving money on processes. So, customers and markets. Now I want to concentrate on why. Why do we need integrations? So basically, after working with multiple manufacturers on different integrational projects, I want just to show you the market view on that, yeah? So you are the provider of the security. I've seen in some tenders as well. In America, it's PID, OSDP, so a little bit emerging. Just Peacock. Peacock is very important for credentialing at the moment. So it's in many government tenders and it's in many tenders. But there are also other requirements. Like I want my software to synchronize, I want the access control to be able to synchronize with Active Directory systems, or to pull the identities from outside. After that, if you have the customer has maybe video brand D already installed. And he has an intrusion brand X already in place. And now if you are as a company thinking, what do I have to do first? What is important for my product? I cannot just implement all of the standards, and I cannot make the interfacing with all of the systems. Should it be over API, over whatever? What do I concentrate on? So you think, oh, if I'm, for example, doing business in Europe, maybe I will go the push principle, and I will introduce OSS standard offline compatibility to my software. And in such a way, I will be compatible with multiple logs, and will be able to deploy many projects, and will have the check mark on the tender. But maybe there is a customer coming to you and says, oh, I also have an access brand E, and I want my identity so that your system works in parallel to this one. And then you have to get pull, because maybe it's a multi-million project, and you just have to make it. Yeah? So there are some pull principle integrations you have to do. So the same here. So Peacock, in America, an identity brand, C, and then you do a pull. So as a product manager, designing on the integrations, you have to think integrations during the sales process. Actually don't use it. So it's just there, but otherwise the project would not have happened. So that's the thing, that's the reality. So let's talk about vendor compliance. Actually, yeah, same picture, but here you have not only standards, you have regulations. You also have to think, oh, which regulations do I have to pass? So currently NIS2 is very wide spoken, so what does it mean? But basically currently a lot of manufacturers asked our company, what does it mean if am I NIS compliant? Or am I not? And I said, there is no clear guidance for that, yeah? So the companies are just trying to educate their procurement, how do they shop? So there are different standards there in the market. That the procurement of the customers are getting smarter and smarter, and currently some customers understand what is OSDP, and that might require you OSDP. Really. And then you think, oh, I have a project, and this requires OSDP and Peacock, and a video brand A, and a fixed regulation. And only under these circumstances I can win it. So that's an example of a tender. And then you again think, what do? I push, and what do I do pull? So what do I do up front? So the same here in Europe. I need an Active Directory and OSS standard offline, and it should be GDPR compatible. Yeah? Otherwise, it will not happen. So basically, that's an example. And the last one I wanted to tell, that interoperability has some hidden costs that you don't think about. It's not like just you implemented the standard and your OSS standard offline compatible or SDP compatible and everything is nice and pink. No, so you have to maintain. So certifications are expiring. So after you modify your software, you maybe have to recertify, or maybe you have to recertify each 2 years, and it costs you money, and it consumes time of your engineer, of your product management. You have to support the integrations. If you have multiple API integrations with other systems, someone has to take care of them. There are many systems. So for example, in America, I have seen systems with over 200 integrations they have. And some of them are being not taken care of, and the problem only starts when the integration stops working. That's a typical trigger. So it doesn't work, and then the investigation starts. So that's currently how our business works, really. So don't do that. Think in advance. And partner management. If you work with a partner and you integrate with a partner, you have to ensure that the partner respects also the integration rules. So if you negotiate on the API or integration rules, the partner also has to be backwards compatible, and he has to test. and someone has to own. So you have always to decide who owns the integration and who carries the costs of the integration. Yeah, that's basically it. So I would be happy to answer any questions emerged. Everything was crystal clear? Okay, then I will tell you more about standards. Perfect, thank you very much.